everyone. Welcome to the April 16th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Ken Solagi, pleased to be back with you this week. Thanks to Barbara for filling in for me last week while I got to hang out with my first grandchild. Oh, there he is. Baby James. Good to be back. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Good to be back. Please silence your devices as well as conversation when we start our program today. And we're going to start it without Alex Novak, Chair of the CIC Environment Committee, the Co-Chair of the International Service Committee, and a major donor. And before we do that, Andrew Bates, you are standing, but if you can wave, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Alex.
Why am I giving the invitation? Well, the speaker's going to speak about PFAS, and I happen to know that PFAS stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. So, just rolls off the tongue. So, the recent views of the Earth from Artemis 2, I know we've probably all have seen that. And I was struck by several things. One is the Earth, of course, looks beautiful from way up there. And but the other is it looks very isolated. I mean, it is truly our island home. And we need to treat it that way, and we need to treat it with respect. When the astronauts got back, many things were going on in the world. There were wars going on. There's always sectarian skirmishes. We're wasting precious natural resources. We're destroying land that's around us. In our society, we're manufacturing and disposing of products that are detrimental to the earth. They're detrimental to our own health. I'm talking to you, microplastics and PFAS. Those are the ones that are in our brains, in our blood. They're everywhere. And then there's also the effects of climate change, which are undisputable, although many still dispute it. And that's inexplicable. But we see wildfires, we see floods, we see famine, we see drought, we see receding glaciers, many things. But I'm not here to just bring everybody down. That's all the things going on that's a problem. And our speaker has an environmental bent, and I also have an environmental bent. So not all is not lost. So we have a whole group of people in our world who are doing everything they can. They're constantly fighting to protect the environment, to protect our waterways, our air, our land. And they have many powerful opponents who are in it just for their own short-term gain. So, this being the last Rotary meeting before Earth Day, which is next Wednesday, I remember I was a freshman in college on the first one. That was back 1970, mid-April. And so what I'd like to do, since we're getting that, is I'd like to have a blessing for all the people who are on the front lines in fighting all these environmental problems. So, and I'll extend this, our speaker, of course, is on those front lines. I'm sure many of you are on those front lines. So I'd like to extend that blessing to all of you. And I had something else and didn't write it down, but that's fine. But that's a blessing to all. We need to do all we can do to protect the earth. Everybody that's fighting to protect the earth is going to, they're just trying to make the planet more habitable. And as I looked at the views from Artemis 2, I have to remind myself it's the only earth we have, so we need to take care of it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alex. Now, Roland Wanek, our major donor, to give us the pledge and the Rotary four-way test. Thank you, Roland. Rotarians, if you have a guest, please come on up and introduce themselves, and guests please stand when they do.
Hello, President Ken. My guest today is Paul Thompson, former CEO and president of STV. In 2011, he was one Henry Heiser's hometown hero. Thank you, Paul.
Good afternoon, I'm Alice Bridges, and I'm honored to introduce a guest of Henry Heiser who couldn't be here today, but Scott Swearingen, who is a lifelong friend of Henry and Henry's family. Scott was giving me his bio, and it is extensive. I told him he is the Louisville equivalent of the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world. His current passion is the repatriation of the 40,000 Ukrainian children who've been abducted by Russia.
Call order.
Welcome.
Good morning, President Ken. My name is Rick Harnett. Just a long-time Rotarian. But my guest today is very special. She's a junior at the University of Louisville. She has been studying biology and doing research on wastewater treatment issues in Malawi and air control, quality control here in Louisville. Michaela Stevens is considering applying for one of our Global Grant Scholarships next year. I think you'll hear her name said.
President, my name is Victor Rice. I was a former Rotarian in 2019 and 20, and I'm returning. Now that I've organized my life, I'm able to come back and be in service. Right, it's my first week in retirement.
Welcome back.
Hi, I'm Tina Halbig with the Rotary Club of Louisville Suburban, and I serve on the Convention Services.
Well, welcome, Tina. We love having Rotarians from other clubs. What a great group of important guests today. Welcome, and if you want to learn more about us, Elaine is back at the What is Rotary table, but our superstar Rotarian Nick Garner will be back there after the meeting to tell you all kinds of great things about Rotary, and we'd love to see you again. A lot of Rotarians in the spotlight recently. Congratulations to Lisa Chardine and the first Hour Grief Recovery. They received a $10,000 grant from the Women's Club of Louisville for the Hope Wave program, which provides students in Jefferson County Public Schools with free tools and resources to navigate grief and interrupt cycles of violence through 10 weekly in-school sessions. Congrats also to Natalie Espenza with Child Advocacy Centers of Kentucky. She received the FBI Director's Community Leadership Award for statewide leadership in coordinating the response to child abuse and strengthening collaboration among law enforcement, prosecutors, and child protection professionals. Perfect weather yesterday as well, or Tuesday as well, for our Rotary Spring Fling at the Zoo. Thanks to all who came, and congrats to Craig Sherman and Liz Matley, winners of the bourbon and wine donated by sponsor Robert Chapman. And thanks, Robert. Our reading sessions for the 8th grade boys, about a dozen of them at the West End School, began Monday and will continue weekdays each Monday through May 11th. Let Walt Kunow or Rick Harnett know if you plan to participate. We have one more Rotary Honors Scholars mentoring session this year. It's next week, April 22nd at Iroquois High School. There's 5 tickets left for the Rotary Day at the Downs. Wednesday, April 29th. Scan the QR code, purchase tickets, or look at the link on our website homepage. Now, President-elect Barbara Sexton Smith. Well, not yet. Not yet. More announcements. But you and Executive Director Delene Taylor are going to kick off things Saturday, May 9th at the Rotary All-Stars Conference with a session titled Finding Your Rotary Rhythm, following a high-energy performance by the Smoketown Thunder Drumline. The day will include remarks from Mayor Greenberg, our district speech contest, a TED Talk style session with 6 presenters, followed by breakouts that dive deeper into those topics, and a dinner program that includes a mock racing activity, entertainment by the Louisville Bluegrass Band, a keynote presentation on the value of simple pinning by our International Rotary Foundation Vice Chair, and much more. We hope to present a truckload of new and gently used shoes to our luncheon keynote speaker, Water Step founder and CEO Mark Cobb, who's also a Rotarian. Thank you to those who have donated already. We'll have the collection box at our next 2 meetings, so remember to bring your gently used shoes. Friday, March 15th, we will help raise the roof with Habitat for Humanity on our next home. That's Friday, May 15th, and Saturday, June 6th is our next Repair Affair service project. See Alyssa Gray or Larry Sloan for more details. Many thanks to Craig Sherman, who's once again hosting a summer social. That will be Sunday, June 7th at his home. You'll find all the information in DAC-TV and on the club calendar at louisvillerotary.org, along with upcoming committee meetings, Rotary University sessions, and more service projects and events. And if you haven't already, follow us online on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and YouTube. We'd love for you to post photos from our meetings and events and tag us so that we can share. Now, President-elect Barbara Sexton Smith, Executive in Residence of the Louisville Metro Government, Vice Chair of the Rotary Fund Board, and Major Donor. We got some new members again.
Yes.
All right.
All right, and welcome back, President Ken. We did miss you. Show him the love, y'all, so he knows we missed you. All right, at this time, I would like to invite to join me here at the podium Mary Ellen Howard and Michelle Young. Please start making your way up. Please come up, stand next to me, and then in just a moment, I'm going to invite their sponsors to join us up here as well. And here we go. Here comes number 2. I have to fill up the time until you all get up here. Maybe I should go ahead and ask the sponsors to come on. Sponsors, let's go ahead and get everybody up here. How about Natalie Pasquinza, Christy Flippins Bartlett, and Denise Sears? That's it. See how quickly they just jumped up? Couldn't wait to get up here. Now scoot over this way. Just like the training video, it's going to show us how to shift, and we're all going to move in unison at some point. So, don't drift off. Pay attention, because I give directions in real time. Are we ready? All right. For the formal induction of 2 new members to our club, fellow Rotarians, as you know, we frequently induct new members, not just to increase the impact of our club, but we want to increase the service and the impact throughout our community, and throughout our nation, and throughout this world, which we do together with more than 45,000 Rotary clubs around the planet. Ooh-ah, you all. Okay. Now, there's been some controversy over who is the largest club and where do we fit in. And it's supposed to all be calculated on July 1 of every year. I've learned that, President Ken, I've been to 7 training programs in the last year to learn how to be the president. But it's calculated on July 1 each year, and then it's announced. I noticed in the script this week, I've been saying for many months, we were the 12th largest. And then I don't know if y'all were here a few weeks ago when I said, we're the 16th largest. Well, today it says, we are one of the largest clubs in the world. Delene and Tracy, thank you for that. So we believe that you, as inductees, you possess the qualities and characteristics that we as Rotarians live by, as you cited the 4-way test with us. And it is our hope that you will emulate those and ask yourself those 4 questions in all things you think, say, and do. Get involved in the club activities. Engage in whatever way that interests you the most. But I'm going to tell you, as a Rotarian since 1990, coming to these weekly meetings as often as you can, that's where the real magic of Rotary is, because it's in the fellowship of everyone at these tables. And don't sit at the same table like everyone in the room is doing today, almost. You know, hop around and sit at different tables and get to know folks. Sign up for one of the committees, all except the standing committees, and I will help you understand what that means. You can sign up and serve on any one of them and get as engaged as you would like. So at this time, I'm going to, all right, Michelle? Would you like to go first? See, it's the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Try to see if y'all were paying attention. Michelle, if you would take about 2 minutes and introduce yourself to the club, and then your sponsors will come forward and stand next to you, and they will offer you the official Rotary pin. Will you be ready for that? All right, here you go. Michelle Young.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michelle Young. I am the founder and CEO of Health Careers Training Institute, and we are an accelerated healthcare vocational school located right here in Louisville, Kentucky, one of the fastest vocational schools growing in Kentucky at this time. I'm proud to say that we graduate between 200 and 250 medical professionals each year, so I'm pretty proud of the community impact we've been able to have. As far as myself and my educational background, I have an associate and a bachelor's of science in nursing. So I've been a nurse almost 15 years. I also have a BA in political science as well as a master of business administration. So I think that that education has given me the clinical expertise to lead my organization with dignity, grace, and expertise, as well as focus on the community impact. And so over the past year, I believe my sponsor here, I'm not sure who first invited me to the Rotary Club, but Denise Sears is a good friend of mine, and so I've been coming and courting the organization, and as I've learned and come to meetings and luncheons and learn more about the service work of the Rotary Club, it became a confirmation to me that this is the place that I want to be and I want to serve, because I understand the motto, service above self, and that's the legacy that I want to leave in life for myself, for my nieces and nephews, for my family, for the community, for the larger world. I believe that you need to be the change that you want to see, and I'm willing to be that. Not that long ago, I was at a watch party, and Jean West, I don't know if she's here, but she was there, and I walked up to her, and I said, I am a new Rotarian, and she said, I hope you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work. So Jean has the same name as my mother, so I'm fond of my mother, and so it's just a likeness there. And so Jean, wherever you are, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work. Thank you.
All right, Christy and Denise, you're going to present the beautiful Poison A pin. All right, and you might want to hand it to her, because this is all being filmed, and we've had some pretty hilarious wardrobe malfunctions during the pinning ceremonies. So I would hand it to her if I were you, Denise. Okay. All right. All right, now, Mary Ellen, thank you all so much. All right, Mary Ellen and Natalie, please come up. All right, wait, you all can't remember, slide in. It's the slide over. Everybody come this way. Come on. All right. So now, Mary Ellen, as soon as you finish speaking, Natalie's going to present your pin, and then all of us are going to promenade to the front of the podium for the what's becoming bi-weekly photo of new member inductions. Mary Ellen.
Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen Howard. I'm the Vice President of External Relations for VOA Mid-States. That's Volunteers of America Mid-States. We are one of 30 affiliates, and our headquarters is here in Louisville. And I'm really excited to be part of this group. I want to roll up my sleeves and volunteer, and I can't wait to get to know all of you. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Now, Natalie, you'll present the beautiful pin, and as she's doing that, you all start moving over here. This all works in unison. Delene, we need music at this time. Okay, and now we all step up front. President Ken and I will flank for the photo. All right. President Ken, it's all yours.
All right, we have other first year members that joined in the last year, you want to stand and we can give you all a shout out too. Thank you all, and hopefully it's been an enriching first year for you. We also like to celebrate some of our veteran Rotarians, and today it's going to be Ann Monell. Come on up, Ann, and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, President Ken, and I do not feel like a veteran Rotary member. Barbara, 1990, yeah, you definitely outshined me on that. But again, my name is Ann Monell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Legacy Foundation of Kentuckiana. Our roots go back to Jewish Hospital in the old Kentucky One days, and now we are a charitable grant-making foundation that supports community organizations in a 6-county area striving to create healthier communities for all, especially those who are vulnerable. My husband and I, just a little bit about, you told me to tell a little about personal stuff, so my husband and I, some of you all might have met him. He was here a few weeks ago. He's at Catholic Charities, but we've been married for almost 31 years. We have 2 adult children, and we would joke and say that we're the fundraising family because we've spent most of our careers in not-for-profit. And the other joke that he didn't appreciate, I would say, all is fair in love and fundraising. So sometimes we would fight over donors, but it's all good. It's all good. I am a Louisville native, went to Ballard High School to answer that question in advance. I went on to Miami University, the real Miami, in Oxford, Ohio. And I studied communication, vocal performance, and Italian. But when I came back from school, I did not have the gumption to pursue music as a professional career. And so I started looking for a job. And some of you may have heard that, we talk about Louisville being a big, small town. And so much of my career is because of the networking and the connections that I've made truly throughout my entire life. While I was in college, I had interviewed the then president of the Kentucky Center for the Arts. So that's how I got my first job at Stage 1. And that was when I first met fellow Rotarian Maggie Harlow. Back then, she was just the little sister of my boss at the time. So that's when I first met Maggie. And then thanks to a number of connections through my childhood church, Second Presbyterian, I then worked at an organization that's now known as the Kentucky chapter of NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I then went on to a marketing role at a local accounting firm. I got that contact through singing. And while I was there, I became active in the Louisville Forum, and that's where I first met Rotarian Fred Cowan. We served on the board of the Louisville Forum together a million years ago. But then that experience created my connection for my next and most influential career opportunity, which was at the Community Foundation of Louisville. And at CFL, I truly did a deep dive into the business of philanthropy, and that's where I was introduced to Rotary. Some of you may remember the then CEO of CFL, Dennis Riggs, one of the best darn club presidents. And then I already knew him, but through CFL I got to know him even more, what I would call the Rotary legend, Baylor Landrum Jr. When you talk about someone who really lives and embodies service above self and civic engagement, I think of Baylor. But it was a while before I was able to join the club. So I was at the Community Foundation for almost 15 years, then went on to Norton Healthcare as a fundraiser, and then on to the Louisville Presbyterian Seminary as a vice president. And it was then, in 2019, that Rotary sent out an invitation to local higher education institutions and said, hey, presidents, we would love for you all to become members of Rotary. And by the way, if you have any senior leaders, have them join as well. And that was my in. So that's when I joined, was in 2019. Certainly went through a lot at Rotary. That was the COVID years and the COVID time. And it was an interesting experience, but I loved how Rotary still stayed connected. And it's all of these connections and these networking opportunities and the relationships that are so special. But I joined the Legacy Foundation in 2023, and Rotary has really been a great support for my role because my job is to get to know what's going on in the community, and you all are the community. And this is a way for me to know what are important issues and then also to look for other connections. So you recall I didn't have the gumption to go into professional performing. Luckily, my kids do. So I have a son who is an actor up in New York City, and my daughter is in Chicago, finishing up her first year of studying opera in grad school. So it's really exciting. And again, It's these connections that we make, and I'm very grateful for this. So thank you for letting me share a little bit about me, and I look forward to getting to know more of you.
Thank you, Ann, and I'll have to get you to lead us in song for America's 250 at some point in the next month. You already signed somebody else up for that. We'll have both. All right, now, Walt Kunow, one of the best bond presidents ever, a Paul Harris Fellow +5, and the co-chair of the Youth Education Committee, has a special presentation.
Thanks, President Ken. This is all about the West End School, so some fun facts. The West End School started 20 years ago with 3 6th grade boys in a dilapidated house on Chestnut Street with Robert Blair, the head of school at KCD, and his wife. There's a special place in heaven for those 2 people. And the school grew by 1 grade every year. In 2012, we added a pre-K and kindergarten students. And once again, we grow by the year. Glad to report that this year we added a girls' school. And that's really important. The West End School is a 100% scholarship-based school, serving boys pre-K through 8th grade, and the girls pre-K through 2nd grade. And the girls' school will grow 1 year at a time. So 5 years from now, we'll have a full school. And what do we have, about 205 students, something like that? 205 students right this minute, 100% scholarships. And we're accredited by ISACs, which is the same group that accredits KCD and Collegiate. Here, this is the kicker. Our math scoring, measure of success. And we've got to remember, people don't know this very much, but Kentucky is between 24th and 32nd in pre-K through 12 education. Everybody says, oh, thank goodness for Mississippi. That's just simply not the case. But our testing, reading, the national average is 30% for reading, 27% math. Kentucky's 30%, 31% reading, 24% in math. JCPS is 22% in reading and 20% in math. And drum roll, please. For the West End School, 68% in reading and 57% in math. And our kindergartners are 100% kindergarten, we're 1st grade ready. I think we've got a little video now.
Initially, this building was the Virginia Avenue School. It has produced doctors, lawyers, politicians, pro athletes. Excellence was established right here at the West End of Louisville.
I first heard about the West End School through research and through my family and friends. I knew this would be the right place for my child when I first attended the open house and I was able to sense the environment of leadership and innovation.
Our mission truly is to provide structure, love, and opportunity. We want our kids to know that they are not only going to have a great future, but a purposeful life.
My name is Brooklyn, and West End School builds my confidence. West End School helps me learn and teaches me responsibilities.
We ask one question every day to our students. What's that expectation? And they say excellent. We ask them then, who are you competing with? And they say themselves, better today than they did yesterday.
I see perseverance, trust, and respect in action each day by me seeing students motivate each other, lifting each other up.
It is completely our responsibility to make sure that our kids leave here and know that they can do whatever they put their minds to.
The African American student is only averaging 20% proficiency in math and a little less than 30% proficiency in reading. Currently, we have nearly 70% proficiency in math and almost 80% proficiency in reading.
What makes West End School special is you get to have fun while learning, and you get to have partners, you get to partner with your friends, and you have time to talk about your work.
I've seen my son grow the most in his confidence, just the way the teachers support and build up
he can approach tasks that are in front of him with a more confident tone. On top of that, our biggest focus is making sure that every child realizes they're a leader. Their capacity is not just as a community or a citizen member, but as a leader in this community.
One thing that I've accomplished in my 4 years at Weston School is building strong relationships with peers and mentors.
Our mission truly is to provide structure, love, and opportunity. We want our kids to know that they are not only going to have a great future, but a purposeful life.
Being at the Weston School has taught me leadership, and I can take that home and share it with my family.
It's important for us to see our family members not just as participants, but as members of our school community. They bring us so much hope. They bring us a positive energy. We could not do what we do daily without the families that serve our school.
I love being at the Weston School because I have another set of people to encourage me throughout my life and just help me stay motivated throughout my time in school.
Weston School is not only a place where kids can come and get a good education, it is truly a trajectory changer.
It's my great honor today to present a $5,000 check to the Weston School, which in addition to our volunteer service provides support for literacy programming. This includes $3,000 in matching funds from our district. Dr. Ross and Leanne, please come on up and let's do this.
It's always uplifting to come to Rotary, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'd like to invite to the podium Larry Sloan, the owner of Sloan Sales Company. Larry Sloan Sales Company, Vice Chair of the Lifeline Committee and recipient of both our Lifetime Service Award and our Rotarian of the Year Award, and major donor and a member of the 1912 Society. Other than that.
It's always so inspiring to come and hear stories from people. Today we kind of have an intersection of education and health. And education is so important to the curing of diseases and so forth. In 1945, at the founding of the United Nations, there were lots of Rotarians from all over the world who came to that founding. And they really wanted things to go well, of course, in the future after the terrible war. But they also wanted health to prevail. Rotarians have always had an interest in health. The World Health Organization was partially founded by their idea. So we're all working together all over the world can solve the health problems. And of course, you have to have an education. I'm honored today to well, first of all, I want to acknowledge Tina Halbig, who is here today. And she, every year, on the UN Foundation anniversary, we have a meeting with Tina, and she educates us in terms of what health issues are or what else is going on. And we've learned about PFAS through that. I can't pronounce the word, so I use the, the PFAS word. But anyway, she's been a wonderful asset for us. Ameerah Palacios is the Director of Engagement and National Water at STV, one of the top infrastructure-focused professional service firms in the United States. It's headquartered in New York City, has 65 offices around the world, 3,300 employees, including Ameerah. Ameerah is quite accomplished. She wrote the American Water Works Association's Lead Communications Guide, a national resource for talking to communities about lead. Ameerah was born and raised here in Louisville. She is a graduate of Western Kentucky University. Please give a warm welcome to our speaker today.
Good afternoon. So today you're going to learn a lot about PFAS. And some of this information may be unsettling. PFAS are complex chemicals that are used in just about everything. The science and the regulations are evolving, and there's still a lot that we just don't know about PFAS. But being an informed consumer means that you should be able to, there we go. Being an informed consumer means that you're empowered with information to make decisions for yourself and for your families, and that you can filter out some of the misinformation that we hear about PFAS. And if you're really, just a note, if you're really concerned, seriously concerned, call a good lawyer like my friend Max over here, or talk to your doctor. I am neither one of those. So I serve as the Director of Engagement for STV Engineering. STV stands for Sanders Thomas Voss. We're based out of New York City. We are known in this market more as American Engineers. How many of you have heard of American Engineers? Some of you. Okay, so we acquired them about 3 years ago, and we are currently rebranding in the market. I've had the pleasure of being deeply embedded with engineers and scientists, those who are very smart and hardworking, but their job is to study and identify and look at how we can treat and remove PFAS from the environment. PFAS is easily one of our most challenging issues in the water industry, and probably one of the most challenging environmental issues of my lifetime. A lot of my work in water has focused on a lot of regulatory issues like lead and copper rule revisions, which is a law to remove every single lead pipe in America in our water systems, which is a very big ordeal. And I come across a lot of PFAS issues. Most recently, I've dealt with some, I would say more of the reactive parts of what happens when water systems fail. Helped out in Jackson, Mississippi, leading some crisis recovery efforts. And if you are familiar with that issue in Jackson, it's one of the worst water disasters since what we saw in Flint, Michigan. So as I touch these sort of water quality issues all over America, I'm always really surprised about why we don't hear enough about what's happening in the environment when it comes to PFAS. And the more that I think about it, it's like, this is by design, right? We know more about Punch the monkey in Japan than a lot of our PFAS issues. Why is that, right? We know the inner workings of this little monkey in Ishikawa Zoo in Japan, whether it's he's lonely, or he's finding love, or he's acclimating with his peer group. We know more about things like this in social media, to things that get our attention and are meant to distract us and keep us not as informed about environmental issues. And so we know more about Punch than PFAS by design, and that's not necessarily a good thing. We have more, I would say, pressing issues to think about, right? And so let's look at what PFAS are. Per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, try saying that. They are a group of compounds that were created back in the 1940s. They are here because we created them, and we thought we needed this chemical, right? For everything that we find convenient in our lives. How many of you have non-stick cookware at home? Yep, that was one of the initial things that put PFAS in our environment. They are known for being, the term is recalcitrant, or I would like to say very, very stubborn. They're very hard to get out of the environment. And so they're known for being heat, water, and stain resistant. There are more than 20,000 PFAS compounds. So it's not just one thing, it's thousands of them. There's lots of them in the environment. But unfortunately, the research is only following a subset of what the PFAS that we know are in the environment, and new PFAS that are being created every single day. And we're starting to hear more about PFAS due to settlements with a lot of the manufacturers that originally created it and put it in the environment. So you may hear PFAS through settlements with 3M, DuPont / Chemours. We know about PFAS because, like I said, it's in a little bit of everything. And this is just a short list. We know about it through non-stick cookware, cosmetics, personal care products, stain resistant fabrics, pesticides, fast food packaging, firefighting foams. And again, it's there because we put it there. And we thought, these things needed to exist at some point. The CDC biomonitoring is showing us that most Americans have been exposed to some form of PFAS. It's in all of us, in our bodies right now. We're starting to hear more about the exposure pathways that are multiple and cumulative, and they vary widely by location and source. So we're starting to hear more about PFAS because it's really in a lot of our consumer products. And that's really where my focus will be on today. I will be sharing lots of QR codes throughout my presentation. Feel free to pick up your phone and scan them to link you to a lot of really great resources about PFAS. How does PFAS enter into the environment? Well, it starts with the manufacturers that create them, put them into the environment and discharge into water and soil. So we see it there. Biosolids that farmers are using for fertilizer to grow crops are starting to deal with it. We see it at airports as it's in the protective clothing and then the foam they use to fight fires. It ends up in landfills as we throw away things, right? And then what's really interesting, our drinking water and wastewater utilities all over America, they are passive receivers of PFAS, and so once it reaches their treatment plants, they have to deal with it, right, and figure out what to do as far as treatment and removal. PFAS is also in our food chain. These are just a sampling of headlines that I've seen farmers getting really concerned about how it's affecting crops, whether it's in New Mexico or in Texas. So why is there so much concern about PFAS? It's because we know it's doing very, very bad things. It's doing bad things as far as the persistence in the environment, the bioaccumulation in the body, and we're starting to see lots of different studies that are finding health associations with PFAS. And a lot of this science is not necessarily cellular. We're still learning about PFAS itself and the different mixtures in the body, what it causes both in animals and in humans. They're starting to find associations between PFAS and things such as its effects on increasing cholesterol, affecting antibody response, changes in liver enzymes, affecting pregnancy, and it's even certain PFAS being linked to certain cancers. So the research is ongoing to really understand all the mechanisms of PFAS toxicity. But we know, and this is just at a very high level, there's a long list of things that we know that is not great about what PFAS is doing when it gets inside of us. What's really interesting, I find that when there is uncertainty and unsettled science, that's where misinformation steps in. This is just a sampling of ads that I saw on my Instagram feed just in 3 months. Literally just only 3 months. And so you'll notice there's a lot of clickbait and ads out there meant to provoke you, to make you afraid, to make you sign up for something, to have concerns about settlements and what's happening in different treatment systems. But I find that this type of things that we see in media, it's misplacing where the energy really should be, right? And so where are we on the regulations that are tasked with getting PFAS out of our environment? We're not very far, in my opinion. We should be a lot further on this issue. A lot of the regulations focus on drinking water and wastewater systems, where they are not the ones who created PFAS, right? But I noticed that a lot of the regulations are holding them accountable for getting PFAS out of the environment. And so in 2020, we started to see a lot more action from the federal government. They've known about it and been monitoring for some time. Back in 2021, the EPA started its roadmap, starting to consider the full life cycle of PFAS, getting upstream and holding polluters accountable. We've also seen some movement. April 2023, the EPA issued the advance notice of proposed rulemaking, starting to look at how to regulate PFAS And the request for input information followed a action by the EPA back in 2022 to designate two PFAS, PFOA and PFOS. So we noticed that in 2024, the EPA reached a major milestone finalizing some drinking water standards as far as MCLs in 2024. And so it's really interesting, if you put 4 parts per trillion into context, it's like 1 water droplet in 5 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So they've started to regulate to a level of specificity that's almost hard to measure, right? But is this really where our concern for PFAS exposure should be? Should it really be so focused on water? I would say no. The real concern about PFAS, personally for me, is in consumer products. It's in what we're buying, what people are making, discharging, those manufacturers, what they're discharging into the environment. And so what's really interesting, there's so much focus on drinking water utilities. There is a timeline for them to not only monitor how much PFAS is in the environment, but to start notifying the public about what they're finding. So you're going to hear more about PFAS just because the regulations have deemed it so. You can also take a look at this map and other resources online to really see just how widespread the PFAS issue is. And it's really interesting just how many of the purple dots related to military sites. So you're starting to see lots of cleanups and military bases. And what's another interesting thing I'm finding is that our Air Force is really starting to look at alternatives to PFAS laden firefighting foams. They're just starting to get a handle on this issue. We're starting to see lots more cleanups on military sites. So yes, if you look at this map, yes, the PFAS issue is very widespread. So what do you do with so much scientific uncertainty? What does it mean for your own health? What's really interesting is there's still a lot we don't know about PFAS. We don't know about all the different mixtures of the different PFAS compounds and what that does in the body at a cumulative level and just all the different mixtures. Again, there's 20,000 plus PFAS compounds. There's a lot to look at. And we know that manufacturers are still creating new PFAS every day. So it's hard to get a handle on something when it's a moving target, right? And we're still learning more about the ways that PFAS is affecting individual animals versus what's happening in the body. Because we're an animal and a human, different science, right? And so with this new data, it changes the way that we assess risk, and ultimately it's going to really have an impact on how we update standards. So detection alone doesn't define the danger. Individual health advisories aren't necessarily enforceable standards. We know that states are starting to take up stricter limits when it comes to PFAS. We're seeing this spark up in agricultural communities. I think Maine is a state that comes to mind that's really started to lean in on this issue. You'll notice in media they often talk about the detection, but not necessarily the risk. That's what makes this really tricky. And we also know that the phrase forever chemicals is very misleading. I think the phrase forever chemicals to me is a little insulting, all the hardworking men and women and engineers who I know who are working to remove PFAS from the environment. And so the EPA has identified technologies that are very successful in mitigating how PFAS is showing up. What removal really means is they can identify it, they can capture it, but the ultimate disposal and destruction of PFAS is a completely different issue. It sort of reminds me of what I'm seeing with solar farm developments. For instance, in the state of Tennessee, to dispose of a solar panel, you actually have to truck it out of Tennessee and take it to a place in Alabama. So again, it's going to get very tricky on how we not only package up PFAS, but where will it ultimately go? Will it be in a landfill? Well, we need to get it out of the landfills, right? So where's that going to go? We're still figuring that out. So there's a lot of emerging research on things such as thermal destruction, plasma oxidation, and other types of systems to package up and actually get rid of it and get it out of the environment. So how can you be better informed about this issue, despite all the clickbait and things that we're seeing about this in the media? You'll notice that you'll see headlines that use a lot of scare words, right? They'll throw around this phrase, forever chemicals, which kind of leaves you in a sense of despair, right? They say forever chemicals, but we know the technology shows us that they're actually able to get it out of the environment and ultimately destroy it. It's just really, really hard. It's really stubborn. They'll talk about contaminants, toxins, how hazardous it is to public health. They'll talk about it in terms of water detection, and there's all these chemicals in your water, right? And so this sense of sensationalism, you won't have to look very hard to find them. I track PFAS conversations across the country, and nearly every day I find some level of sort of a PFAS jump scare. But there are some positive media out there that's really talking about the progress and how some states and communities are being very successful in removing this from the environment. And at the municipal level, we're watching communities really start to put together informative libraries that can help people really take some action on their own and be more knowledgeable about this issue. Another thing I saw, I think it was on Monday, the Attorney General of Texas is actually suing Lululemon. How many of you have Lululemon at home, the athleisure company? Okay, see if you can. So the Attorney General of Texas is basically saying, hey, are you using PFAS in your products? Are you marketing this as PFAS free? Actually looking at their supply chain, looking at how they're testing for PFAS in the clothes, and actually holding them accountable to what they're putting out in the environment. It's a wait and see on how that investigation turns out, but it's good to see states taking action. This is an issue where we need to be asking more questions about what's in our products. So what are some practical steps you can take? I encourage you to look at your Consumer Confidence Report, otherwise known as an annual water quality report. How many of you read Global Water's DCR? No hands, okay. When I travel, and I'm a big drinker of tap water, I love Global Pure Tap, but you know what's so interesting? A lot of water utilities are at the forefront of this, already implementing many of the PFAS removal technologies. Global Water is definitely ahead of most utilities, and so I have no qualms about the tap water. But you should, if you're for loved ones elsewhere beyond Kentucky who aren't as fortunate to have innovative utility of Global Water, check your CCR if you're concerned about this. That is the best data source for water quality. You should also ask a lot of questions. You know, how is PFAS being tested in the products that you buy? You should definitely ask about that. There are water filters you can use. Not all of them remove PFAS, but some do a pretty good job at it, so you can look at that. You want to be cautious when people make claims about non-verified products. You want to be cautious about when people use the term PFAS-free. Those are often misleading. You want to look for the actual data. You know, how are you backing that statement up? You also want to think about all the things that you're buying and bringing into your home. That's really where a lot of in my opinion, the PFAS exposure is. The problem that we're finding with consumer products is that manufacturers are not required to properly label how much PFAS they're putting into those products, so how would you know, right? And so when something is labeled PFOA-free or PFOS-free, that doesn't necessarily mean PFAS-free, right? PFOA and PFOS are just one of thousands, 20,000 plus PFAS. And so another problem, I'll talk about testing in a moment, is that it only tests a small subset of PFAS, not the entire class. So that's very, very problematic. So how can you be a smarter buyer when such imperfect information exists, not enough information exists? You can start to look at product categories that are more likely to contain PFAS, such as non-stick cookware, stain or water-resistant fabrics, grease-resistant food packaging, and then some cosmetics and personal care products. And so what does reducing possible risk look like? You want to choose untreated fabrics when possible. Think about stainless steel, cast iron, or ceramic cookware, avoiding stain-proof or water-repellent claims. look for the data and not actually be like the Attorney General of Texas and go, how much of this are you using in your product and why aren't you disclosing it? And think about reducing your use of single-use grease-resistant food packaging. And another thing that I'm finding is that testing for PFAS, just trying to determine how much PFAS is in your blood, whether it's not a certain product, certain environment, it is deeply flawed, right? It's complex, it's costly, it's incomplete, given the size of 20,000 plus PFAS compounds. And it's designed that way, unfortunately. There are thousands of PFAS chemicals, but these tests that are on the market only test for a small subset of them. And many PFAS cannot be routinely detected with the current methods. And then keep in mind, manufacturers are still creating new PFAS every day. Another thing that makes PFAS testing currently challenging is they still don't tell you where you got it from, if it's in you, right? So we don't know the source. They cannot predict individual health outcomes. And a lot of the tests on the market only test for 10 or fewer PFAS. There was a PFAS test I found online. It was $500 and it only tested for, I think it was 4 or 5 PFAS. So you do the math, 20,000 plus compounds, $500 a pop, and then you need, what, $500,000 or more to be able to test for the full family of PFAS? That's very depressing, right? And so another thing that we're finding is that the results, the reports that do come out, they really cannot be used to diagnose disease. Another thing that makes PFAS testing a little depressing is a lot of the laboratories that we need to actually analyze and do these tests correctly. You need specialized equipment and expertise to do that work. That's really hard, right? Testing can cost hundreds of dollars per sample, like I just mentioned. And then, again, if you want to test for all 20,000 plus PFAS, it's currently not even feasible to do that. There's nothing on the market that allows you to do that. That's a great business for someone, maybe, to pursue. And then, even with the advanced testing we do have, it may underestimate the total exposure. What does this mean? So testing leaves us with more questions than answers. And really our focus should be reducing PFAS at the source. What is the source? The manufacturers, right? They're the ones creating it and putting it in the environment. But as consumers, just thinking about what you buy, what you bring into your home, that is how you can be more empowered to do PFAS reduction at the individual level. Regulations right now are prioritizing the standards and phase outs. It's not moving nearly fast enough. But being informed means really understanding the limits of current science. So what's happening as I look into the crystal ball of all things PFAS? Where are we going with this? Well, there's a lot of money on the street to try to really address PFAS mitigation and removing it from the environment. We're starting to see money from the bipartisan infrastructure law, a lot of investments in drinking water systems. Again, they're the ones being regulated the most right now. So that's where a lot of the money is going. So you're seeing this through the various state level, states revolving funds. EPA has money out in the EPA's emerging contaminants or small and disadvantaged communities grant program. You're just seeing a little bit of everywhere at the federal level. You're also seeing it at the state level. This is just one example. In WIFI loans, that's another really popular financial vehicle many utilities take advantage of. We're starting to see companies like DuPont, Chemours, and Corteva that announce all their different settlements. Again, it's just drops in the bucket, right? For the real cost of treating and removing PFAS. And we also saw, I think this is also what happened in 2023, 3M announced their settlement, and I think it was around $10.3 or $12.5 billion. But a drop in the bucket to the real cost of removing this from our environment. So what should you expect? Scientists are going to continue to trace this issue probably until the end of all of our lives and beyond. PFAS will be something we'll be dealing with for generations to come. The research and the science really isn't settled, but they're going to keep working at it, right? At some point, we'll see updates to EPA standards, improved treatment and destruction technologies, more money. And so as consumers, just know that there's going to be a lot more data, a lot more that we will know about PFAS. And at some point, the guidance should get a little less confusing and more clear. That's the hope. Here are some credible public resources about PFAS. This is where I go to really check on what's happening beyond just the news headlines. Look at what the EPA is actually doing. There was some concern that the Trump administration was going to roll back PFAS regs. They didn't. They stuck to it. That's very comforting. But look at what the CDC says and also the NIH. That's kind of where I like to keep tabs on all things PFAS. So yes, PFAS, it's not just something made up. These are very real chemicals, and they do very bad things in animals and in our bodies. The science is evolving, it's not settled, and being informed is better than being alarmed. And you have a right to be concerned with all of the uncertainty that we see about PFAS. I leave you with this thought: choose empowerment over fear. Trust the science and all the hardworking people at water utilities that are on the front lines of this issue to defeat it. So, and with that, I'll take your questions. Thank you. Oh, nice. This is so great. The work of Rotaries is so important. You are a capstone of our community. Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My name is Nick Garner from the MITRE Corporation. I was so glad during your presentation to hear you talking about the source of the manufacturing source of the PFAS being the most critical part of stemming the injection of it into our environment. Can you talk a little bit about what you know about how the companies that are doing the manufacturing have been able to push back against regulation that would stop them from this continuing?
So your question is, why aren't there more mechanisms to stop them?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. All of you should be asking your senator and other folks who have the power to make those regulations. There's a huge lobbying and legal effort to not put more PFAS regulations at manufacturers, and you should be asking lots of questions about that.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a comment. One way the manufacturers are escaping the law is by creating these new PFAS that are not covered by the law. The EPA law originally listed chemicals that were dangerous, and that was the law for many years until lawsuits started to come against DuPont as an example. Mm-hmm. And DuPont spun off their PFAS making company to a different corporation so that they would protect their other products from being sued and losing the money.
You mean they're protecting their assets instead of just not making PFAS? I'm shocked. Yes, new PFAS are being created every day, and so the regulations aren't moving fast enough, right? If you look at a lot of the regs now, it's like, oh, these 4 PFAS, we're getting started. 4 or 5 of 20,000 plus. We're getting around to it. So yeah, that is very challenging from a regulatory standpoint. So, yeah.
Kind of sobering. All right, Barbara, how's next week look?
Okay, all right, well, thank you, Ameerah. And President Kim, next week looks great. So first I'm going to tell you about next week's speaker, and then they've written in several really quick announcements in this script. Okay, Dr. Ross, are you ready? Okay, here we go. Next week's speaker is Trevor Paul, the CEO of One Louisville. And for those of you who've missed it in the media in the last year or so, One Louisville is the new organization that was the coming together based on the 2 boards of directors of Greater Louisville, Inc., and then LEADA, the Louisville Economic Development Alliance. Trevor Paul is a rock star. I'm going to encourage you all to look him up online. He comes from Michigan with an unbelievable background and success track record. And he's going to give us a talk on building the city of the future. He's going to talk about Louisville's moment and the momentum and what comes next. and he's got a lot of experience in doing that. He is helping our city build systems of speed to scale and compete globally right now. His idea is not about what are we going to do in 2 or 3 or 5 years. Trevor is a guy who was born at the green light, which means he is sitting on go at all times. So please sign up and I'm encouraging y'all to bring a guest next week. I would love to pack this room out and have standing room only if there's ever such a thing at the University Club for us. All right, so now also next week we're going to have some special guests in the house. Thanks to those of you working on the Rotary Honor Scholars Committee. We're going to have students from Western High School and Iroquois High School with us. And remember to bring those gently used shoes, not the old worn out ones that are real smelly, all right, that you've been putting baking soda in. No, not those. Bring those, put them in the water step box, because we are hoping to deliver Fred a truckload of gently or new shoes at the Tri-District Conference coming up. And yes, 5 tickets left, I think, unless somebody's gone online. I just heard 2 tickets go to Victor Rice. There are 3 tickets left. Oh, you're buying all 5 of them? Victor, are you buying? Let me clarify that. Are you taking all 5 tickets?
I already did.
You already did? Oh. President Ken, okay, is it okay he was on his phone during the meeting? Yeah, okay.
Well, I heard that and one of my staff participated.
This is so great, and I'm one of the co-sponsors to bring Victor back into the club, and I've known him for a number of years. Y'all get to know Victor Rice. He runs the Amazing Children's Learning Center, one of our incredible Head Start programs here in Louisville, so I hope you'll go by and visit with him. All right, now I guess I can't announce any more tickets for Wednesday. All right, here we go. May 14th, we're going to have special guests from El Salvador. I believe that's what it's, Rick, you look surprised by that. Do you know that? Oh, how can we have guests from El Salvador and Rick Harned not know about it? Rick and Mary Ellen Harned are the dynamite duo that helped put this whole Tolaton service project on the map. Rick, we got some special guests coming from El Salvador. Please make sure y'all are here May 14th. And then on May 21, we are going to be doing what we do annually, and we are going to lift up and recognize and present the Lifetime Service Award to one of our fellow Rotarians. So make sure you register before the deadlines. All of our guests are welcome to come back, and President Ken, there you go, buddy. It's all yours. Oh, Grand Pop. There you are.
Thank you, Barbara. Enjoy your Thunder Week, and we are